558-2201. For our deaf and hard of hearing community, we have a team from Hannah Interpreting Services, and they will be interpreting our meeting this evening. We would like everyone to speak at a clear and reasonable pace for our interpreters. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, report of actions in closed session tonight. In closed session, our board, upon motion of Trustee Andrade Zuniga and seconded by Trustee Chavez, moved to approve 3 special education settlements with a vote of 5-0. In closed session, the board denied a liability claim with a vote of 5-0. Staff has requested to pull item Q1 and we'll bring it back to a future meeting. Okay, public comments. If you are joining us in person and wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during this public comment section at the beginning of the agenda, please fill out the request to address the board form and submit it to our secretary. This form should be given to the secretary before the agenda item begins. If you are joining us virtually, please use the raised hand feature on the Zoom to be recognized. When invited to do so by the board president for each item on which you wish to comment, you'll be admitted to speak as a panelist during your public comment period. The board president will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allotted for public comment depending upon the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. So I have some comments here. Do we have any online?
Yes, we do one.
We have one online. Okay, I will call that in between the ones that you've already outlined here. Our first speaker is Dan Varela. Dan, come on up to the podium.
Ready?
Yes.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me the floor. I want to begin by acknowledging what the district senior administrative department is doing for our wonderful students on issues regarding equity, inclusion, the fight against hate and racism, as well as the fight against Asian hate and anti-Semitism is definitely a step in the right direction. As parents of former students of this district, we find this most welcoming, yet long overdue. It reminds us as a Latino family what we experienced with our kids during their high school years. We should never allow racism, Asian hate, anti-Semitism, or the deprivation of equity and inclusion be tolerated in our schools, let alone in our society. However, for this to come full circle, we still have much to do here in our own school district. This brings me to the next part of my message. I'd like to take a moment to share a story with you. Approximately a year ago, there was a posting for a management position in the maintenance operations department in which several candidates, people of color and Caucasian, were interviewed by an all or predominantly Caucasian hiring committee. I believe HR was well aware of this as they called for these interviews to take place here at the DO. Ultimately, the position was awarded to the Caucasian candidate, catapulting and leapfrogging this candidate over all other more qualified candidates. This candidate had the least experience, the least knowledge, the least seniority, was the least qualified, and had the least track record than any of the other candidates. This candidate had recently finished his 6-month probationary period for the lowest position in that department. This committee's actions and their decision epitomized the lack of equity as well as employee ethnic disparities. But it gets better. During the interviews, candidates were asked questions regarding equity, inclusion, and about racism. Based on their decision, those questions epitomize hypocrisy. This is simply and clearly a practice in the district depriving many people of color of their fundamental right to a fair and equal opportunity by allowing certain department heads to inequitably administer their own hiring or promotional process. This has been going on and allowed to continue for some time now. And if allowed to continue, this will leave more than just a blemish on the integrity of this school district. We have reached a time that just simply talking about equity and inclusion, the fight against hate and racism, is simply not enough. You tell the public that you're hiring more people of color, adding more diversity, yet these are primarily lower level positions that cannot make executive administrative decisions. This is simply sugarcoating the real issue. Those words, equity, inclusion, and how you stand against racism are simply hollow words that carry no weight if you don't practice what you preach, if you don't lead by example. Allowing and turning a blind eye to inequitable events like what happened to these candidates continue, and then simply attempting to sweep it under the rug, hoping that it dissipates or doesn't draw attention, sooner or later it will surface and be exposed. You don't sweep dirt under the rug and then say that you're cleaning up the house. I leave you with one final quote. There is a known road that can lead to true and total equity. That road is called diversity. However, it has to start at the top. That, ladies and gentlemen, would be leading by example.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Janice Sieben. I hope I said that correctly. Thank you.
All right, good evening, board members and Superintendent Booker. My name is Janice Sieben. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a parent at San Mateo High School and a member of the Drama Boosters. I understand that the drama teachers have recently requested that the district add a new position, that of artistic director, at each school site with the drama program and provide this position with a 1-period release. Each school site produces at least 2 main stage productions per year that is considered an after-school extracurricular activity. Currently, the drama teachers at each school site have taken on the responsibility of the artistic director, even though this is not in their teaching job description. The artistic director oversees all aspects of the artistic production of the organization, such as assessing and selecting the performances that will be shown, recruiting and auditioning actors, setting production schedules, as well as managing budgets, running rehearsals, hiring, supporting artistic staff, such as choreographers and music directors, overseeing student technical crews, costuming the students, and many more tasks. The teachers spend an average of 585 hours outside of class time on these tasks to produce 1 production per year. Their stipend is $3,303. That is an average of $5.65 per hour. The teachers are not asking for additional money. They're asking for a few hours during the school day to do some of the work that is required to put on a production. This will help with their work-life balance and hopefully prevent burnout from these important teachers. Last November, voters in California approved Prop 28. The Arts and Music in Schools Funding Guarantee and Accountability Act. Based on the estimates from a School Services of California website, this school district is estimated to receive $1.2 million from that funding source. I encourage the district to use some of these funds to offset the possible cost of granting the drama teachers their 1 release period. Soon after Superintendent Booker joined the district, the athletic directors at each site, who are also teachers, were given a full day release from their teaching duties in order to focus on the athletic departments. The drama teachers at each school site are responsible for very similar logistical aspects of their performances, albeit in a different venue, such as scheduling, recruiting of staff, auditioning of students, coordination of admission into events, setting up and striking the show, interfacing with parents and venue staff. Athletics and performance arts are similar sports, and the drama teacher should be awarded at least 1 release period to accommodate some of the work they do. The students involved in these productions on stage and backstage are gaining more than an education in acting, dancing, singing, and technical skills. Along with empathy, live theater requires that actors exercise the courage to stand up and speak out in front of strangers. It requires resilience and flexibility, the ability to respond to the prop failures or a dropped line or unforeseen surprises that always occur. It requires stamina and endurance. It boosts self-confidence and teaches them to advocate for themselves and interact with different people. All of these are amazing life skills, things all students in the district should be learning. I fear that the district risks losing some of our fabulous after-school drama programs if the teachers are not awarded a 1-period release. And the main people that would hurt are the students. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker, Paul Sieben. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Paul Sieben. I am a parent of a San Mateo High School junior, and I too am here in support of the drama teachers in the district and specifically their request for a release period. These drama programs are a vital part of our, a vital component of our school's efforts to provide a well-rounded education to our students. These programs advance their mental health, their well-being, and they celebrate the uniqueness and diversity that they otherwise feel, that our students otherwise often feel compelled to suppress. For some, these programs are a primary avenue for belonging, for building relationships. For most, they foster tremendous growth and self-confidence in public speaking. And for all, they provide a safe and educational venue for self-expression and critical thinking. The leaders of these programs are responsible for all of the above. They're sacrificing hundreds and hundreds of hours each semester for stipends of less than 1/3 of minimum wage. Yet they're not asking for fair compensation. They're simply asking for a very small portion of these hours back. Please reconsider helping them to help our students continue to thrive in drama programs. They deserve it, and our students deserve them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Stephanie Wozniak. Did I say that right? All right. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you all so much. I know that this isn't a new issue, the drama stipend or the drama one period release. And I really appreciate your time. My parents have come and spoken on my behalf. I know Cindy Skelton spoke to you all in April, and I just wanted to introduce myself and speak on my behalf as well. I was hired to take over the drama department in July of 2020. And those who work in the field of education understand that that usually indicates a really traumatic event. My predecessor, Brad Friedman, left the position without fanfare after decades of service, and I stepped into an impossible task. I remember I began my role as drama teacher smiling at my Zoom screen full of silent children, uncomfortably smiling back. And then I have spent the last 3 years running triage on this drama program, keeping our heart beating, our lungs pumping oxygen, pulling performances out of thin air, and determined to prevent our theater program from collapsing due to the global pandemic. During my first year, that virtual year of learning, I hosted monthly open mic talent shows on my Zoom where students read poetry, sang original songs, and shared original music videos. We devised a theater piece that was filmed on Zoom, and I learned how to use editing software just so we could share our work with the community. I produced the musical The Drowsy Chaperone in the spring of 2021 and the 2022 and 2021. Gosh, the theater COVID requirements dictated that we film each actor separately, and then we edited them together to create movie magic. I am incredibly proud of the work that we did during the quarantine, and I continue to be incredibly proud of what we're able to accomplish. It has taken time, but this year we are finally seeing the number of people in the audience match the audiences that we had before the pandemic. Theater is back, drama program is thriving, and it has become abundantly clear that the effort it takes to maintain this program cannot be sustained unless we are granted the time to oversee all of the moving parts. So the athletic coach comparison is murky, but just because I think most people have an understanding of sports more than drama, despite my best efforts. The directing stipend is similar to the stipend a coach receives in that the director shows up to rehearsals and works with the actors, just like a coach shows up to practices and works with the athletes. But the sports teams have a leader, the athletic director, who oversees all the details. And what each of the drama teachers here in the district are being asked to do that. So we oversee all of the details for our program, but we don't have the compensation for it. We are basically the football coach who's being asked to also schedule practices, organize transportation, medical clearance, hire staff, oversee all of the other sports teams. I am so grateful to be working in this district at our beautiful facilities. Speaking of facilities, I was at the calendar party meeting the other day, and it became very aware of how much I required our facilities, and I did the math. It's 157 days. 157 days that I have requested to use those facilities for our students to, they're encouraged to hone their talents, challenge themselves creatively, and step outside of their comfort zones under the guidance of highly qualified theater educators. I really, truly thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have one online. Can we promote that person?
We do.
And then we have one other speaker that will do live last.
Tiffany Beltran, I'm now promoting you.
Okay, Tiffany, can you hear us? Hi, Tiffany. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Last time I spoke with you on behalf of the 2.0 FTE loss at Peninsula. Tonight, I'm here to update you on the progress since then. We're now being cut by 1.0 FTE. Our staffing ratio has been lowered from 27:1 to 24:1, and our projected enrollment has been adjusted from 135 to 145. With that being said, the involuntary transfer of our one English teacher is still proceeding to Aragon, in addition to the 1.0 science that has already moved. Administration is now looking to hire a 1.0 position and a 0.4 position. The latest update is that the new hires could potentially fill 2 to 3 math classes and a combination of either work experience, guided studies, Oscar credit recovery, or PD coordinator. Based on historical section enrollment, English has had a higher need than math. This school year alone, there were 112 more section requests for English than math. Also, besides math, our English teacher that is being transferred has the experience and/or credential to fill all of the additional sections proposed. So the question now becomes, why are we really transferring this teacher? Is it really for student needs? The logical solution would be to retain our highly experienced teacher who holds multiple credentials and hire a part-time math teacher. Another update that we received is the future of our leadership class. They are intending to condense it from 2 sections to 1, combine it with yearbook and potentially other programs we have, such as PumaTube, our video announcements, and Puma Pulse, our newsletter, in order to make this reduction work. We are continually being told that it's not the intention to cut these programs, but this is the truth of what is being condensed at the site. This would be condensing 4 different duties into 1 class section. If you can imagine, there would not be enough students to contribute to all these programs in 1 classroom, nor the teacher capacity to run these programs well under 1 leadership class. Leadership will also be assigned to a teacher who has never taught the class nor agreed to teach the class. Lastly, the current plan for the vacated professional development coordinator TOSA position is being assigned to admin and/or being posted for a new teacher to fill. This role is currently being filled by the English teacher that we were talking about that's transferred. There are many other changes proposed, but I only have 3 minutes to speak with you tonight. The end of the school year is next week, and our staff is anxious to understand their jobs for next school year. The data presented and actions taken over the last 2 weeks are not adding up. PHS staff and teachers are demanding clarity and transparency, as we are left to assume that the intentions behind these decisions are not what they're made out to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move to the last speaker in the audience, Irina Lib. Hopefully you said that right.
Hello, everyone. I'll be quick. I don't have a speech. I'm here on behalf of the drama teachers in our district as well. And I am the parent of a freshman here. And this is sort of an emotional appeal just because these teachers, in addition to putting on amazing shows, they create such a community for these kids. And a lot of these kids, especially after COVID and everything they've been through, they really need that. They're so vulnerable. And these teachers put so much extra time and effort into that. And for my own kid, she's had her 8th grade year was the roughest. I mean, I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. And the only person that noticed last year was her drama teacher then, just because of the hours she spent with her. And this year, again, I mean, the teacher that provided the most sense of community where she feels at home, it's really the only place she feels at home because she because of all the isolation, that's all the friends that she has, right? Is Ms. Wozniak. And even like through even a teacher that can guide a kid through a rejection where that rejection feels like a stepping stone to success as opposed to a failure. I mean, I'm going to show up to every single meeting that she comes to where she asks for help and ask for her just because they need all the time and they need all that energy and they need that extra period to maybe, get their strength together to help all those kids. I mean, she's put on so many extra events for them that take them away from all their anxieties and their panic attacks and their fears. And she's put her heart and soul into these kids and into this program. And anything that can be done to help these amazing humans, I mean, I think it's worth your time and effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, those are all the speakers. So we are going to move on to governing board comments. Does any board member have anything they want to say?
I have
Seeing
some.
none. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to start with the land acknowledgement that I borrowed from our Cappuccino High School community. Our community acknowledges that our campuses lie on the ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone. The Ramaytush are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula, whose land was stolen and whose native languages was lost. As settlers on the stolen land of the peninsula, we should be alongside the Ramaytush, remembering and honoring their ancestors and relatives. We thank the first people, the Ramaytush Ohlone, for taking care of the land we use now for education and activities. Our responsibility of caring for the earth is unique and personal to each of us, but should be rooted in allyship with the Ramaytush Ohlone, so we can work together to protect and preserve the land for future generations. And I just wanted to say that this past week was Teacher Appreciation Week, so just wanted to thank all the teachers for their tireless work. And I know we have a jam-packed agenda, so that's pretty much it for today.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Just briefly, I'd like to thank the public for those comments. Those are very important issues, and we do
Yes.
like to hear what's going on, what the views are. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be
Trustee
brief.
Chavez.
Thank you, President Land. I just want to echo that sentiment about Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you to all of our teachers at all of our school sites. You're amazing. I also want to echo what Trustee Griffin said about public comments. Thank you for everybody who came in person and also online. I want to mention we did have a busy week. Our Equity Advisory Committee, we held our year-end celebration, a year-end meeting / celebration, and Trustees Andrade Zuniga, and also, of course, staff was there as well. So thank you, Dr. Kempke. So that was amazing. And we had 2 amazing groundbreakings this week. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. I don't know if we're going to talk about it later, but we had the groundbreaking on May 17th at Burlingame High School. We had the groundbreaking on May 16th, the day before, at San Mateo High School. And the new gymnasiums are going to be incredible. So excited. I would just like to say we all thank the voters and taxpayers for their support of Bond Measure L, which is a $385 million bond for improvements to facilities all across the district. So thank you for that.
Trustee Jacobson.
I also want to thank the speakers and all the community members who have written to the board about their concerns and engaged on different topics. And we do really appreciate your your comments, and we read them and we consider them. Thank you to everyone who helped with the groundbreaking services. And that was really a great opportunity for us to get on the campus and be with the students and administrators. And thank you for that. Also, I really enjoyed hearing the choir and orchestra performances that were shared with us by Paul and Sean over email. So I wanted to congratulate our musicians for the awards that they have earned this year, and sad that we cannot hear them performing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just close with, I agree with everyone. Ditto on the comments, ditto on the groundbreaking ceremonies. Laura, thank you so much for helping organize that and getting that going. Appreciate the principals and all the work that they did to get it ready on their sites. And again, teacher appreciation is really important in my mind, and I'm glad that we celebrated, and I'm glad that we acknowledged that as well. The only announcement I have is tomorrow night is Kent Awards. I've been a little bit obsessed over it as the president and in charge of it. So I'm glad that you all are coming, or at least most of you. And I do have a surprise. We are going to have Congresswoman Anna Eshoo coming, joining us as one of our guest speakers. So
That's great.
yay. So you're the first ones to know. All right. With that, I'm going to move on to the rest of the agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Communications to the Board of Trustees. There's none. Okay. Recognition. So I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Booker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This evening, our first recognition is a spotlight on student learning, and it's our AVID program highlights and senior standouts. And so I believe we have Dr. Showman here. Yep. So I want to introduce Dr. Showman, and she'll take it away. Thank
All
you.
right.
Good evening, President Land, Vice President Andrade Zuniga, Board Trustees, Superintendent Booker, Cabinet, members of the community. It is an honor and blessing to be here as the AVID District Director with our AVID Coordinator, Nancy Dingus, and senior AVID teachers, Vicki Daniel, Michael Zozos, Angelica Alvarez, and Marnie Malone, to honor 4 beautiful, accomplished, first-generation college-going students and their families. Each teacher will present their student to be recognized. We're going to go in alphabetical order. So I will invite Vicki Daniel from Aragon and her student to come up.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Daniel, and this is Paola Monje. Yesterday at our last faculty meeting of the year at Aragon, it's always been devoted to the AVID program and the graduating seniors. It was inspiring. It was wonderful because it's filled with students like her. So thank you for having this platform to spotlight the students, because that's what it's all about. As you can see, I won't read everything that's on here, but I chose Paola Monje as the standout. She's been in AVID for 4 years. She has also been part of Peninsula Bridge program for 6 years. This girl has been dedicated to being the best that she can be, to being in college, and to achieving her dreams. As you can see, she has a high GPA. She's first gen, and she's achieved all of that while working 10 hours a week as a tutor. She plays the violin. You can see, I didn't even put the actual number of what she's earned. She almost has a full ride to University of Redlands, but she was also awarded a lot of other money from other schools that wanted her. In addition, she, more than any other student in my class, sought out opportunities, not just the ones that I exposed her to, but others, and applied to 20, so was it 23? 23 scholarships.
Wow.
Yes. And she just did it with this sweet smile on her face the whole time, with grace and composure. And she does all of this with kindness and compassion, leading. She walks into the room every day. Hello, Miss Daniel. Hello, everyone. And she is just a joy. She plans to major in accounting and education at University of Redlands. I could not be more proud of you and so excited to see all the amazing things you're going to do.
Thank you.
So do you want to say something? Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you, like, to the AVID program, like, for having this program at my school, because I mean, being a first generation, I think you're always like told to think about college and stuff, but like the college process is very hard. Like, it's not easy. And AVID has definitely been a great support system for helping me apply, look for those scholarships. Miss Daniel also reading all of my essays and just the whole application process. So just thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Yes, felicidades.
Right. Good evening, President Land, members of the board, Superintendent Booker, and District Cabinet. Thank you for the time to speak with you tonight to highlight Burlingame High School's first ever AVID senior standout, Serene Harumi.
Yay.
So my name is Michael Zozos, and I am the BHS AVID site coordinator as well as Serene's teacher. And I've had the privilege of having Serene in my AVID elective class for the past 4 years and have been impressed with her enthusiasm for learning, her high level of maturity, and her dedication to helping others. She is academically motivated, open-minded, and empathetic, and it is my pleasure to honor her tonight. Serene has been a wonderful ambassador for our growing AVID program at BHS. She has been a leader and well-respected member of our AVID family from day one. As a first-generation student, and having recently moved from Algeria, Serene has learned to navigate the American school system with tenacity and resolve. Through dedication, perseverance, and a drive for academic growth, She has flourished, earning a 3.23 GPA. This speaks to her grit, determination, and her will to succeed. Serene is kind, compassionate, and empathetic with everyone that she encounters. She is hardworking and is dependable in the classroom. She is prepared to take on the challenges of college, and I know she's very excited to do so. Her scholastic aptitude and enthusiasm for building lasting and meaningful relationships with others, will allow her to be successful in anything that she decides to do in the future. Serene will be attending San Francisco State University, majoring in business in the fall. Congratulations.
That's great.
All right, congratulations.
Okay, sorry, I'm just so proud of these students. Good evening, everyone. My name is Angelica Alvarez. I am the avid senior teacher at Cappuccino High School, and this is Shayla Medina. On behalf of the AVID program at Cappuccino, I'd like to recognize her as our AVID senior standout. She is a 4-year AVID student, first generation, who came to us from a San Mateo Middle School. Coming to Cappuccino, meeting new friends, and adjusting was a challenge for Shayla, but she found her space when she enrolled in freshman AVID that would turn into a family of Mustangs. I was fortunate enough to meet her during her junior year, and I've also had the honor of being her teacher this year. She definitely stands out to me when I think of what an AVID student is. As you can see, she's been very involved in the Cappuccino community and within the district, serving on different councils and giving students a voice. This year, she was voted by her peers on being a member of the school site council. Yeah, Ms. Chavez is right there, familiar face. So it was, it's an honor to be voted that by all of your senior peers. We celebrated our Latinos seniors on May 5th. And because of how impressed we are with Shayla, she was one of our student speakers who got to address all of family and friends, and she did an amazing job. I am proud of everything she accomplished. I know she is going to do extremely well when she starts this fall at Sacramento High School. But before she gets there, she plans on attending a local community college so she can get ahead and graduate before her brother did. It's something she is planning on doing. So Shayla, we are so proud of you.
I just wanted to say thank you, everyone. As she said, it was a little bit of hard adjusting to coming into Cappuccino, and I really found my space. I feel like also senior year, they tell you that it's super easy, but it was super stressful with college, and I never felt alone, and I felt a lot of guidance throughout. So thank you for everyone.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you all very much for having us here tonight. I'm speaking about Addie Torres. She is our senior standout at San Mateo High School. I am one of the 2 senior AVID teachers. Ruth Micheletti has another class, and we both agreed that she is our standout. Addie understands the importance of education. Every year she has improved in her academics, and she has also increased in her rigor. One of the moments that stood out to me last year was her college prep English teacher saw what she could do and encouraged her to take AP English Lit her senior year, and she rose to the challenge, as well as continuing in AP Spanish. And so she really continually looks for ways to strengthen and improve and celebrates, even if it's challenging. She doesn't let that stop her. Beyond being a strong student, Addie is also fully engaged in the school. She is part of La Raza. She celebrates it through her efforts in choreographing the dance, organizing the nighttime dance, publicizing it. She also shares it by going around to the tutorials and bringing what they are doing to the larger community. So that is something that I love, is that she shares her pride within her own culture, celebrates it, and helps to educate others about it. She also works as an ELD tutor, and she's done that for most of the years here at the school as well. Last night, we had senior awards night at San Mateo High School, and Hattie kind of wore a groove in the stage, walking back and forth. She was she was awarded the Seal of Biliteracy, CSF Lifetime Membership, and then she received the following scholarships: Class of 1969, San Mateo Rotary Club 4-year scholarship, San Mateo Rotary Club SMART Program, Altigliga, said that wrong, Jobs of You Scholarship, Peninsula Chinese Business Association Scholarship, Rotary Club of Foster City Scholarship, Service San Mateo PTO Scholarship, Latino Parent Organization Scholarship, and she is a recipient of the Pursuit of Excellence Scholarship. So she, with
Nice.
all of her efforts, and I said, apply to everything you could. She took that and ran with it. And she also has earned enough through scholarships for a full ride at CSU East Bay next year.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone, especially all the AVID teachers, for supporting us first generation students. You guys are giving us a voice, a dream, and by being part of the AVID program, I have been able to dream. Coming from Mexico at a young age and owning up to the language was not easy for me. It was my biggest barrier. And like how my teacher said, being an AP English student now, I'm very proud of myself, and I wouldn't be able to do that without the AVID program. The AVID program has given me a lot of skills that I have really made sure to embrace them through every single class, and I'm always willing to challenge myself, and I know that I will continue to do so with the help of my teachers, but as well as holding myself accountable. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Can I quickly invite Nancy Dingus up just to share some of the events and activities we do to get students to this point? Nancy.
Well, first of all, I think I'm going to cry. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to the students. You guys are just rock stars. This is why we do it. And also shout out to the senior AVID teachers. It is hard. So board, thank you for having us. My name is Nancy Dingus. I have been involved in AVID, I think 12 years now. And now I'm at the district with Samia. I help her out a little bit. So I'll make it quick. I know we have a packed agenda, but we have over 450 AVID students in the district. We are able to go to all of these colleges. I think all of us have gone to a total of over 20 colleges and universities this year. Most of us go on an overnight trip for 2 nights, and it's just amazing. It's really fun. And we go to schools that students probably would never be able to go to. I know I can only kind of talk to us about San Mateo right now, but we went to Chico, and I've never, all these students came back and they're just like, we want to go. Like, and if it wasn't for AVID, they would not be able to see it. So, the next thing that we did was a first time. It was amazing. We did an all district AVID field day, and just having these 4 students come up here, and it kind of, you have an AVID family at your school, but it really became an AVID family district wide. We're hoping to make this an annual thing. I think especially post-COVID, people and students and teachers needed a sense of belonging. And I think we are getting back to that. Just having this and just seeing these pictures is so awesome. And I think it was also just a celebration of our seniors as well. We have 108 seniors district-wide AVID students. Out of that, 94% were A through G eligible. And I think that people like you support Avid, because I don't know if those students, they all have grit, but we're just there to guide them. And so it's pretty awesome to see. And it was a really fun day to celebrate, especially the seniors, their last hurrah as an Avid student. So thank you all very, very much. And thank you to students for coming and celebrating.
Thank you.
So I just want to finish for thanking the board for continuously supporting this program, for growing this program. I think, Michael spoke to the fact that he just helped the first graduating class of Avid students at Burlingame. We've expanded. San Mateo and Aragon have also added sections. And then I'll end by sharing a fun story. There's a picture of me with a student up there who was a freshman Avid student at Burlingame. I had the pleasure of teaching both her mother and her aunt.
Wow.
In the beginning of my career when I was at Jefferson High School. I coached them both in soccer. So know, her mom, her aunt, and her grandma very well. She is like the perfect Avid candidate. And when you walk in a room and see her, I seen her grow up at McKinley where my kids went to school. And I'm like, yes, this is why this program exists for students like her. So fun fact. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give everybody a hand to Avid program. Deep breath. I'm getting a little teary.
I know.
I love presentations like that. So thank you. I think that's amazing. And thank you so much, students, for just sharing your experiences and what happened. Thank you. So I'm going to move on. Dr. Superintendent Booker, we have a couple more proclamations.
Correct. Thank you, President Land. So tonight, we're going to be recognizing June 1st through June 30th as the 2023 LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. We have a proclamation that I'm really grateful to read. Whereas the San Mateo Union High School District is committed to supporting dignity, equity, and visibility for all people in the community. And whereas the San Mateo Union High School District has a diverse lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer questioning, intersex, and asexual community, along with the San Mateo Union High School District allies. And whereas many students, family members, educators, and community members are part of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and/or questioning community, and they contribute greatly to the enrichment of our SMUHSD schools. And whereas, although advancements have been made with respect to equitable treatment of LGBTQIA+ persons, LGBTQIA+ persons still face discrimination simply for being who they are, thus making it essential for all districts and all communities to stand up and show support for our students, staff, and families who are affected. And whereas the San Mateo Union High School District community pledges to uphold our values and champion our responsibility to protect and support all youth by guaranteeing they have access to learning environments that are safe, welcoming, and free of any discrimination. And whereas the district's equity mission statement affirms that, quote, all students will learn in a safe, inclusive, and equitable environment that validates, respects, and honors their unique backgrounds, interests, and identities, end quote. And that this mission statement grounds our commitment to our LGBTQIA+ community members. And whereas San Mateo Union High School District was the leader in planning and promoting the first ever countywide Pride Prom in San Mateo County this April. The event was attended by over 175 students and over 50 adult volunteers. Leaders at this event raised over $12,000, thereby making the event free and accessible to all who wanted to attend. And whereas June has historically become a symbolic month in America in which LGBTQIA+ persons and allies come together in various celebrations of pride to support the community's right to live their lives out loud. Many school districts across the United States, including SMUHSD, recognize and celebrate June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month. And whereas we continue to work closely with our LGBTQIA+ community members, on our shared goals of developing and implementing ongoing educational, equity, and visibility projects for our LGBTQIA+ students. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the San Mateo Union High School District does hereby declare the month of June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in our schools, and invites the members of our community to reflect on ways we all can live and work together with a commitment to mutual respect and understanding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need approval?
Yeah, let's get this proclamation approved.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the proclamation.
All right.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Andrade Zuniga, seconded by trustee Griffin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the proclamation is passed. Thank you. And I'm moving this again.
Yeah,
We have
thank
one
you.
more proclamation to go.
Thank you. The second proclamation we have tonight is the Jewish American Heritage Month proclamation. We have a Burlingame student here tonight, Nathaniel Teitelbaum, who contributed to the writing of the proclamation, and he will read it for us tonight. We also have a few special visitors who've connected with us from Peninsula Temple Shalom, Synagogue President Arlene Rosenberg, and Cantor Yona Kleiger. Thank you both for participating with us in all of this. We're so happy to have all of your efforts and guidance. And Nathaniel, it's all yours.
Thank you. All right. Whereas Jewish Americans have been an important part of the American history and have greatly contributed to all American life and culture since our nation's earliest days. And whereas on April 20th, 2006, the federal government proclaimed May as Jewish American Heritage Month, stating as a nation of immigrants, the United States is better and stronger because Jewish people from all over the world have chosen to become American citizens. And since then, the proclamation in support of Jewish American Heritage Month have been made by presidents of the United States annually. And whereas generations of Jews have fled to the United States in search of a better life for themselves and their families, and these immigrants have made invaluable contributions in support of equality and civil rights through their leadership and achievements. And whereas Jewish Americans connect their Jewish identity in a variety of ways, such as culturally, ethnically, religiously, and by following Jewish ethics and values. And whereas Jewish Americans are radically ethnically, socially, politically, and economically diverse, and nearly 40% of Bay Area Jewish households include a person of color. And whereas in 2022, Jewish Americans faced a dramatic rise in anti-Semitic incidents, 36% higher than in 2021, including but not limited to physical attacks, vandalism, verbal and physical harassment, and hateful comments posted on social media. Furthermore, from 2021 to 2022, K-12 schools saw a 49% increase to 494 incidents, and college campuses saw a 41% increase to 219 incidents. And whereas the San Mateo Union High School District is committed to providing safe learning and working environment that is free from discrimination and harassment, the district announces bullying, hazing, hate incidents, or any behavior that infringes on the safety or well-being of students, employees, or any person within the district's jurisdiction without regard to intent as outlined in the district's bulletin on responding to and reporting bullying, hazing, and hate incidents and crimes. And whereas SMUHSD shares an obligation to condemn and combat anti-Semitism wherever it exists, to include Jewish Americans in all facets of civic life, and to stand with the Jewish American community against hatred or bigotry in our district and country. And whereas there is a need for education and policies that are culturally competent when describing, discussing, or addressing the impacts of being Jewish in all aspects of American society, including discourse and policy. Whereas we celebrate the rich and diverse heritage of the Jewish American community, including those who live, work, and play in SMUHSD. And whereas we recognize Jewish American commitment to civic engagement and how SMUHSD has been enriched by local Jewish institutions and synagogues. Therefore, be it resolved that SMUHSD hereby declare the month of May 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month, in appreciation of the achievements and contributions made by members of the Jewish community. The SMUHSD Board of Trustees calls upon all residents to celebrate Jewish Americans who have woven the fabric of our country and community and support opportunities to learn more about Jewish American history and culture. Passed and adopted by the Board of Trustees of the San Mateo Union High School District on the 18th day of May 2023.
Thank you so much for reading
job.
that.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion made by trustee Chavez, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried unanimously. Thank you so much. All right, we are moving on our agenda. It is now the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull any item? Is there a motion?
I'll move adoption of the.
Okay,
consent
motion
agenda.
for adoption.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. Motion made by trustee Griffin, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor for consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Okay, regular reports. Report of the superintendent
Yes, thank you.
in
very much.
brevity.
I-
Yes.
I don't know if I can promise that, but I have two. I have two brief announcements. One is just a reminder to everyone that Harvey Milk Day is May 22nd. Harvey Milk was an activist and organizer and the first openly gay man elected to public office in the country as members of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in the late 1970s. Harvey Milk came out and started organizing against discrimination of gay and lesbian business owners in the Castro district of San Francisco and against the Briggs Initiative. This was an initiative on the California state ballot in 1978 that would have banned gays and lesbians from working in California schools. Harvey Milk was responsible for passing gay rights ordinances for the city of San Francisco and served 11 months in office before he was assassinated on November 27th, 1978, along with San Francisco Mayor George Moscone. We celebrate Harvey Milk Day on his birthday, May 22nd. So in addition to the LGBTQIA+ proclamation that you passed earlier this evening, I want to make a special mention of Harvey Milk and recognize the important contributions he made to the LGBT community in San Francisco and in our country. My second announcement is with regard to Memorial Day. It's on May 29th. This year, Memorial Day is observed on May 29th. It's a federal holiday and a day off for our schools. It's sometimes thought of as the unofficial start of summer, but it really has a very different purpose, and it means a tremendous amount, especially to me. Memorial Day is the day that is meant to remember and honor American service members who have died while serving our country. Memorial Day was originally called Decoration Day, which was a day intended to honor soldiers who had died in the Civil War. The first celebration took place on May 30th, 1868, in Waterloo, New York. In the late 19th century, the holiday became known as Memorial Day and was expanded to include the deceased veterans of all the wars fought by American forces. It became a federal holiday in 1971, and for some, this is a time, as I do, to visit the national military cemeteries like the Golden Gate National Cemetery, where my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, and my aunt are all buried. And here at the San Francisco National Cemetery to lay wreaths, place flags, and otherwise pay respects for our fallen service members. As we observe the holiday, I encourage the members of our community to reflect on the bravery of those who made the ultimate sacrifice in serving our country. And I think about the honor and the bravery and the sacrifice of these veterans I have known, including those of my own family, and feel especially grateful for those who died in service to our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to turn to the District Teachers Association representative. That's online? Okay.
No.
Yes. No. Yes. Hi.
Me?
Mr. Childress, are you there?
Uh-oh.
Hello?
You got Demetrius.
I'm gone.
Not related.
He's showing. He's showing on screen.
Greg, can you hear us?
Oh, weird.
Rachel, do you want to do it? No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I think here he comes. Okay. Yay.
Well, whatever you're kidding about, I hope it wasn't bad.
I was just gonna have Rachel do it instead. I was like,
oh
okay,
no,
we can't
all
get
I
him.
was gonna say was after 2 years on Zoom, I can't even believe that I can't do this. Good evening, President Land, members of the board, district cabinet. Now I'm flustered. First, I'd like to recognize and congratulate all of our AVID graduates and especially the students, the standouts who were recognized tonight. To that end, I also want to recognize the dedicated AVID teachers across the district for their steadfast support of our students. As we near the end of the quote 100 days of May, it's important to reflect on what we and our students have accomplished, from athletic champions to curtain calls in the theater, the stress of AP tests, and the relief of the exhale, recognition of National Merit Scholars, AVID standouts, as we mentioned, music masters, and everyone who made progress on some meaningful goal that they needed to achieve. It's important to recognize that everyone makes progress on their development, and we should champion that to the greatest end. We should all be proud. I wish I could be as positive about the present state of negotiations. This is not to say that things are bad. Rather, this is a message of frustration. Frustration that while we have made progress on minor issues, as I've said in the past, the parties seem to be separated on the issues that matter the most to the teachers in this district. Issues that should represent common interest. That is, the support to do our job well, to do the best to serve our students and the students of this community. These interests are based in the same concepts of what Superintendent Booker described as mutual respect for our charge as educators. And we hope that in the future negotiations meetings that we can make progress and find common ground to support the students of this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next report is the report of the CSEA Chapter 519 representative, who I saw in the back. Here she comes. No worries.
Stumble over my words and I can do the introduction right for the first time. Thank you very much. And I was going to mock or do whatever Craig did, but he did it real fast. So I'll do what I did. I'll keep my fingers crossed. Good evening, President Land, VP Zuniga, and Clerk Griffin, and trustees Chavez and Jacobson, and our district. Thank you. My 2 years of charm school worked out, right? So for our updates, I'll give you a little update on what was going on with negotiations. Not all that different than what Craig had explained. There's a little bit of frustration. I was very excited at the last board meetings. I had said we had come to agreement with negotiations. Everything was great. We had the TAs, the tentative agreements drafted and sent to the district office. And right now it's either on the May 8th. Kirk, you said, I'm sorry, you don't do that, do we? It was meeting with Lou. I was going to hear back from him on the 10th. And since then, we've heard nothing. So I don't know if that means we have a deal or don't, or where things stand, but that's the status and learning curve for me. I'm hoping that it doesn't take 3 weeks in the future for negotiations. The new job descriptions and MOU process has been quite a stumbling block this year because there's not enough information for us to approve job descriptions and put them through, and things are getting approved by the board, or they're getting posted before they're even signed by Kirk or ratified by the union. So I'm hoping we can tighten that up next year. So we're going to work really hard. So those are trouble spots, but you know, it's very exciting. I talked to Michael Bumalag, who works as I had to write it down because he used to be a manager, and for whatever reason, now he's an automotive shop foreman and transportation. He's been here for probably 5 years, and he's been working on grants for the last year. And it is crazy out of control how many millions of dollars he's bringing to this district. And kudos to him.
Here, here.
What is it, like $6 or $8 million? It's absurd.
Wow.
So it's great. CSEA, baby. That's what I'm saying. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Report of the San Mateo Adult School Teachers Association.
Hey,
There we go.
Now it's your turn.
Now it's your turn.
that'd be me.
Yep.
Okay, good evening, Board President Land, members of the board, Superintendent Booker, and distinguished guests. My name is Demetrius Booker. I'm a CTE instructor at the San Mateo Adult School, and I would like to present the following for our school. We started our summer session recently, and we enrolled over 500 students in our ESL programs within the first week. We have many more scheduled to attend in the fall. So and in support of our ESL student population, we continue to grow our CTE programs. So within the last year, we've advanced our phlebotomy technician program, medical billing and coding, and our dental rover sterilization technician programs. Our Amazon Web Services program now has certifications. Now has two certifications. One is AWS Academy Cloud Foundations and Academy Cloud Architecture. So in our partnership with the Construction Trades Workforce Initiative, we now offer math test prep classes to help students successfully pass the local union apprenticeship exam. In addition, our management team has updated our technology offerings to provide foundational computer skills. We offer extensive training with Microsoft Office 365 and working with the San Mateo Community College District, we're establishing dual enrollment for business, finance, marketing, sales, and service courses currently offered at the adult school. Thank you for your time and support of the San Mateo Adult School.
Thank you. All right. Moving right along, we are now at special presentations and appearances. So I'm going to turn this over to Superintendent Booker for our first presentation.
And I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Kempke.
All right, we're moving.
All right, good evening. And we do have a presentation for this one.
All right.
I guess since I'm here, I'll just stand up here for the moment.
Sure. There we go.
So we're here to talk about the Equity Advisory Committee. This is a committee that's been in existence for 4 years now, and it's the first time that we've actually come to the board to talk a bit about their work. And I have some of the committee members here. We're able to get them here tonight to talk about it a bit. So they're going to actually do most of the presenting, but I do want to say that part of what the Equity Advisory started was the actual equity vision and mission. So that was one of their first things that they did, and that has been approved by the board. But otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to, I think Rachel's coming up next.
What happened? Sorry.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not doing anything cool, so don't ask. Everyone's like, it has to be soccer, right? I'm like, nope, I was running down the stairs.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone, it's good to see you all again. But like Dr. Kempke said, our district equity advisory committee has been meeting for now a few years, since 2019, to engage our larger community in the equity work as a district. Some of you are on that committee as well. It's one of the most diverse groups I have the honor of serving on, and I take a lot of pride in that and being on this committee, in addition to a lot of other things across the district. Our group has served as an advisory for the district's LCAP and SACE goals. And in years past, we've made recommendations around the district equity vision and mission and the racial equity board policy and administrative regulations. Part of our work this year was to reflect on the racial equity board policy and administrative regulations. We would look forward to sharing our recommendations in the future. And tonight we're going to hear some of the successes. Our committee is committed to the continuous work towards these very important goals.
Now I'm going to ask April and Francisco come up, and they're going to take a bit of the presentation as well.
Hi, good evening. Feels a little bit like we're at the Grammys or something. The winner is. So thank you. Yeah. Yep. Thank you for having us. I'm going to talk a little bit about our highlights. But I think to start, one of the biggest highlights is that we have a district, we have a board of trustees and a district administration that believes in this work. And that truly is the biggest highlight. I know plenty of schools, as we all do, that this is not one of their top priorities. So thank you. Thank you, everybody. So some of the work that we were able to do this year, we were able to develop culturally sensitive, culturally inclusive panorama questions. And we were able to also take a deep dive into that data. And we know data drives our work. So we were able to take a nice amount of time to do that. We developed and recommended our 4 LCAP goals, authentic relationships that we'll talk briefly about in a moment, safe and connected communities, inclusive and relevant learning, and supporting and empowering staff. We also were able to build out a subcommittee that worked with our student services, and that was a focus on our policies and procedures. And we really took that lens of cultural inclusivity. And then lastly, this really was a big think tank. It was a group of people that were able to come together and all their vulnerability and sometimes uncomfortableness from conversations, which is all fine, and really become those thought partners to build out this work and move us forward.
Right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Francisco Go. I'm a school counselor at San Mateo High School. So with the first LCAP goal that we are going to review was authentic relationships. So 70% of all new administrators across the district identify as BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous, people of color. So that is keeping in line with our vision, is to be able to diversify and diversify our staff, specifically administrators that lead our schools, and then also for it to be more representative of our student population.
Continuing with the authentic continuing with authentic relationships, we were able to secure a 3-year grant. It's our Learning Communities for School Success grant. And it's a grant where we were able to hire 3 social workers, all bilingual, all multicultural. And it is a consortium grant. So we're able to work with our feeder middle schools and really do not just intervention, but prevention and absenteeism. So we are running our school district social workers are running the parent connect groups that we have here at our middle schools as well, and really working with families together.
And then in line with our second LCAP goal, safe and connected communities, we were with the group of from the work of the equity group, we have the family handbook was revised throughout the district and simplified and translated into multiple languages. So really that was just to be more culturally inclusive and relevant to our diverse population of families and students across the district.
And then of course, I want to talk about mental health. Again, safe and connected communities. We work with every department, Samia and Dr. Hollyway, Dr. Samia Showman, Dawn Scatena. And so we're really lucky in that sense, right? So we get to have our feelers out there. And Dr. Holly Wade and I and Lauren Berlin and Joanne Michaels worked together on a therapeutic elective course and program that is at 6 of our comprehensive sites. We were able to hire 4 new mental health therapists, all speak 3 languages and to speak 2 languages, all bicultural. And those therapists work exclusively with our students that have IEPs and with their educationally related mental health services. Okay.
So another piece of what the Equity Advisory Committee does is oversee or as part of input for our CSACE plan. And this is the plan that addresses our significant disproportionality for our Latino students in the area of specific learning disabilities. This year, what we're launching is a pilot of a reading intervention course to specifically address some students. We screen students at San Mateo, and we are planning to launch that class this fall. And we also have revised the ALD course. Yeah. Go back. The other important project that we have done as a district under the Inclusive Relevant Learning is, you've heard about this, the instructional lead teachers have been hired, and our instructional framework is in the process of being drafted. And so a lot of the recommendations, or one of the things that we're talking about now, are from the recommendations of the Equity Advisory Committee. So the work is being done by a multitude of individuals, like April has said, but a lot of this work is what has been recommended by the Equity Advisory.
Also, based on some of our recommendations from the committee, our committee, usually breaks up into small groups, and each group kind of gets to explore a different area. And one of the things that we're really excited about that the district is doing is through the work of SABI, is expanding the induction program that supports teachers. And also super exciting is a new grant that will support some of our classified staff members and becoming certificated educators. And the grant allows Lindsay Bussey, one of our Aragon educators and committee members, to support those classified staff members in their journey to become through the credential program. And both the instructional lead program and this new induction program and new classified grant really help us take steps towards supporting diversity in our district.
And as you heard, we also had the Instructional Leadership Initiative, and we've been unrolling pieces of that as the year has gone through. So just wanted to mention a bit about the Equity Advisory. We're really proud of this group because, unlike other districts or other places where you're talking about having community input for the LCAP, this is really authentic stakeholder input because it's an ongoing group. They understand what the LCAP is. And I know it's always a struggle in previous districts I've been in. You have an LCAP meeting and, very, very few people show up. What we see here is that we have consistent members who show up and then they're providing input. Our continuing goal is always about community engagement. It's been about a lot about what we've been talking about this year is how do we get more authentic community engagement. So we've talked about reaching out to our schools and actually bringing some of the work and gathering input from our community in the places that families naturally gather instead of asking them to come to the district office. So that's some of our work going forward. We're also really interested in collaboration with our partner districts. That's been coming up a lot on the committee because we know our students need that transition support. And we're also have talked about seeking the similar committees from our partner districts to sync up with the work here. We're always looking for new members. So if there's anyone watching out there interested in joining the Equity Advisory Committee, we're always looking for representation from across our schools, families, and we've talked about how do we also intersect with our Student Equity Council. So that's some of the goals as well. We've also talked about just increasing the accessibility of the meetings. So both from a language perspective and then also intersecting with our advisory groups that work with students with IEPs. And then finally, like I said, just thinking about how do we collaborate with some of our student groups. So this was just a moment really to update you on the work of the Equity Advisory. As I mentioned, they've been in existence for 4 years. Some of the members have been on the committee for 4 years. We've graduated some parents and are hoping to recruit more. So it's an ongoing, lovely group of people who've really done a lot of service for the district. So that's it. If you don't have any other questions, that's the end of the presentation.
Oh, I have a sneaky suspicion people are going to start wanting to talk. Oh, here we go.
Just a comment.
Trustee Chavez.
I want to say to Dr. Kempke that although I've only been on the committee for a little more than a year and a half, it truly is one of the coolest committees. And so I want to give a plug there to what she had said. We invite new parents, not new parents, any parents that want to join the committee. It's an excellent committee. And I think lately we've been meeting every other month in person with an optional Zoom alternative. And then the alternating months are on Zoom. And can you go back to slide number 5? because I want to zoom in on our fearless leader, Dr. Kemke. I think we couldn't see her picture because the Zoom was covering that up. So that picture of all those smiles was actually quite small on page 5. That was from last week. I'm not looking at my own smile, so it's just coincidental that I'm in the picture too. Okay, this is not a self-seeking. Let's zoom in on, but page 5 with there. You see how you can't see because we got the zoom there. So you have to move those boxes. Who's ever the control master of that? And then I guess we can't really zoom in on it, but you can. But you get the idea that Dr.
That's the
Kemke's.
committee?
That's
a
who met last
portion of
week.
the
That's a
committee.
portion of the committee who
All right.
met last week, and sometimes we have more members, but they're all. You
Outstanding.
can't. You have to go online and zoom in on your own computer to see all the smiles. But everybody really enjoys this work, and Dr. Kemke and Mr. Simmons lead the group, and I think it's excellent. I mean, we all participate, and certainly Trustee Zuniga participates too. So it's would you say it's an amazing group? It's the coolest committee to be on. So, in addition to the other committee I'm on with Yancy over there.
That is truly high praise.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation. I got a question on the slide that was talking about the authentic relationships and the 70% of the new administrators being BIPOC. Are we looking at across the entire district employment beside, this was a lot of top-down leadership, classroom, very close in the classroom, but I'm just curious if in fact we are looking to make sure we have a representative cross-section of people employed here in the district.
So that 70% number is the percentage of the new administrators that we hired as a district at our sites. As you remember, we had 9 administrators, 9 or 10 administrators leave. I think it was 10 leave the district, and 70% are. That's the 7 of the 10 is that 70%.
But I was asking, how are we doing on everybody else in terms of representation? Are we getting a cross section so we've got people of color at all levels? Are we doing the best? Are we doing everything we should be doing?
We're doing a lot. We can always do more. And there's another equity task force that we're working on. There's 2 things. First of all, we've done a DEIA audit, a diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility audit, and that's coming to a close this month. They're finishing up with their focus groups, and they're going to give us their findings. And then those findings, along with the work with the equity task force, which is the other group, we're going to then come to the board with some suggestions of how to improve our interview process and recruiting. But prior to that, we've done a whole lot of work and made a lot of progress in diversifying our workforce.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I say one last thing? One of the good things about this committee is that we have like really serious, hard questions, and we have these really good conversations on what this really means and what it looks like. We don't sugarcoat anything. We're very honest. And so, with Trustee Griffin's question, we do talk about things like that. And so I'm hoping to see more, focus on on the whole district.
And I just would be remiss not to say that Mr. Brian Simmons is usually my partner and collaborator on the Equity Advisory Committee. He wasn't able to be here tonight because his senior son is having his last music performance. So
yeah,
rightfully, he's chosen to be with his family.
Totally get that. No. I'm going to take a turn just because I'm very proud that we have several board members who are participating. I am very proud of this group and the work that you're doing. I'm just so impressed by the deep conversations that you have, the movement that we're making. I know we have more to do. I'm well aware of that, but I really feel in this instance, we are really trying to push forward, and I see it in what we do. I kind of have a vested interest in some things, so I'm going to just talk about some stuff. So the first one is the LCAP goals. I know that's kind of peripheral to this, but I want to say, knowing what I know about other districts' LCAP goals, and I said it when we first did this, and I talked to Brian about this, I am so proud that we have authentic relationships and the 4 goals that we have as being the forefront of our LCAP goals, where this conversation of equity really is at the forefront for our students and what we're doing. And so I just got to say, Dr. Kemke, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing and with Brian and together. And LCAP is a little peripheral to this, but it's not. It's integrated into it. And so I just feel like, just want to say that to you, that I'm so proud of our district and the way we're doing things. Talking about partner districts. So now I have a little vested interest here. Don't know why I'm saying this, but you know why. But I really think it's important to have those partner districts. I know, you know, I've already seen in the news that one of the middle school principals are leaving, and in one of our partner districts. I'm coming in to take over for a school district, one of our other partner districts. I think it's really important that we reach out to our partner districts and our principals and really build a relationship better than we have. I know we're trying to, I know we're started, but there is so much more work that has to be done. The question I had also was with the social workers. You said you outreached, they're outreaching. Is it all the middle schools or most of the middle schools or some? Sorry. Again, vested interest.
That was on our list.
Yeah.
We brainstormed other
Yeah.
day, so, yeah.
Yeah, several.
Several.
And, you know, we are getting in there and working with the parents, and they're also able to.
Sorry. I know. I can hear you, but we got to for the Zoom.
Carries, but.
Not enough. Mine does too, and they still make me talk in the mic.
Several. And some of that work this year has been relationship building and building that trust that we are there to help support. I think that with our evening events, and we're having the administration come to our SARBs. So that's been really helpful. And we've actually, I think the last SARB, we had two sets of siblings. One was in the middle school, one was in the high school. And that's one of the things we want to continue to do, is like that full family support.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really impressed by all this, and I really am proud of all the work that we're doing. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. We are going to
I
move
have
on.
One thing.
Okay.
One of the things also that really stuck out to me is our students, that they feel like they are respected by their teachers. You know, that's been such an increase.
90%. I saw it in the appendix.
It's excellent. But we can still do more. And so that is what we are striving for, is our families to feel connected, our students to feel connected.
I'm blown away by the appendix statistic that said 90%
Yeah.
feel supported by their teachers.
Excellent.
That's in a high school. I'm sorry. I have a very sarcastic view of that, because usually with high school kids, when you're taking a survey, they're just going to be like, yeah, right. I'll tell you exactly how I feel. Anyway, thank you to the committee. Thank you, Dr. Kemke. Thank you all for being here and presenting. It was really wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. We are going to move on to something fascinating as well. We're moving on to the governance core book study chapters. Yeah, here we go. Got your books. Did we do our homework?
Yes.
All right. We're going to go on. We have a new teacher today. So
Yes.
chapters 5 and 6, we're going to have Dr. Andrade Zuniga going to be presenting for us today in a short and brief and wonderful
Yes.
way.
In a
Right?
short and brief.
Wonderful way. Professor Andrade Zuniga, you're up.
Yeah, so as everybody knows, we have been studying the governance core. We are on chapters 5 and 6, part 2 of the book, Governing for Efficacy. So if you can go on the next slide, please. I'm going to be brief because I do have a ton of slides. So if anybody wants to look at them later, you can on your own time. But I'll just, stick to the fundamentals. So first, governing with coherence is chapter 5. And it says, enduring great organizations are characterized by fundamental duality. On the one hand, they have a set of timeless core values and core reason, being that remains constant over a long period of time. On the other hand, they have a relentless drive for change and progress. That's Jim Collins. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So there's also this concept of uniform versus unified. So we don't have to have a uniform board. We will have people that vote differently than others. We'll have people that have different ideas than others, but we have to be unified in our moral imperative, our common goals. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So coherence is what we really strive for. Coherence is integrating the different elements of our relationships, our values, our beliefs, but it's also really complex. And it can be really difficult to attain that depending on how we're addressing that. Go ahead and go to the next slide. There is the coherence framework that has 4 different components that are interactive, and they're not linear. They all work cohesively. Culture, is also really important when it comes to this. We also play a critical role in cohesion, making sure that our districts and our county office of ed, that our sites all keep focus on student achievement. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So we also have to compare what we have to what we actually need. So fundamental progress will depend on schools, boards, and superintendents to work jointly. And this is the essence of the governance mindset. So we talk a lot about having a governance mindset. Next slide. And all of these are also going into coherence and what that perspective is. Go ahead. More coherence making, go ahead. But there are some distractions and some challenges that we can get into that will pull us away from the work that we're looking to do. So the challenges, right? Balancing our core values, our unity of purpose. It's difficult sometimes to reconcile those values and beliefs and connect it to the development of our moral imperative and our board strategic goals. If at no time should any member of the board violate their core values in their work on the board, their beliefs will guide them to work with other trustees, and it will help everybody to have a different ability or a stronger ability to govern as a unified team. But the distractions get into more of conflict, personality conflicts, and in kind of power struggles. If we don't have a unity of purpose, that's where those distractions come, and it will pull us away from the work that we're supposed to be doing. Next slide, please. Micromanagement versus accountability. There's also all of this. So micromanagement is pretty much a lack of structure, organization, and governance discipline. Micromanagement is also a major distraction for the cohesive work of our board. Next slide. We all have a different constituency, but we have to remember that we are also representing the entire district, not just a group of people. However, also, we do feel torn because we are part of our own villages, our own tribes, our own people. And so it is important to bring those people to the forefront, but also relate them to the entire cohesion of the district. Next slide. Having one agenda or one single idea is also difficult because we all govern, again, with the perception or the perspective of representing everyone in this community. It can't just be one group of students or one type of person. And it's not about, and compromising is important because again, we all have different beliefs. We all have different strengths. We all have different values. And so it's important to do the give and take. It's important for negotiating. Next slide. And then it goes on to like rubber stamping things like our differences are also important because we want to lead with our values and not just saying yes, 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 or no, no, no to everything because somebody else did. And that's where our leadership is important. Next slide. Confidentiality. This is something really important. Nothing will betray trust on a board more quickly than breaching confidentiality. it's really important to be mindful of what we are divulging, what we're not, and what ramifications that has for our board and our community. Next slide. And then again, more things around trust, around professionalism, expertise, what happens when we are the only ones voting no. A strong board will get through things like that. That it's not a matter of being having like this us versus them mentality, that everybody is entitled to voting with their moral compass. Next slide. So these are some of the conclusions from this chapter. Autonomy is not isolation. Prolonged isolation is bad for the organization and bad for the person. Being your own person while you collaborate is important. People who are autonomous have good ideas. Disagreements will happen, but they are good because people will learn about each other and learn different perspectives. Coherence making as a process builds consensus while respecting differences. The moral imperative, unity of purpose, and coherence are essential for good governance. How these three things come together in sequence and the power and velocity of their existence determine the degree to which the board can carry out its governance responsibilities. There are many challenges to building unity. System-wide coherence without governance cannot exist. Next slide. There's just one more chapter that we're reading this. So governance, thank you. Governance culture, chapter 6. Our board serves as a model of the collaboration and mutual respect it encourages throughout our system. Our governance team believes in the concept of team, and the concept that like Team Mountain View, they created a specific, I guess, a value system, or this is what this is about, and it's focused on what they had said, which is our shared belief in supporting all our students to be successful, meeting their diverse needs, and creating conditions in which all employees are valued and supported. So that is what they had created. Next slide. There's this sense of governance culture. So kind of what I was talking about earlier, will develop, it will create a culture. And this is what we're trying to make sure that we have a healthy governance culture. Next slide. With the governance culture, it's a process of developing a governing infrastructure and governance principles. The principles are what are going to lead us into a positive working relationship, a positive working board. So the three things, like our board adopted governance principles, our norms, and our protocols. Next slide. Governance principles. So the district, there's a District 23 board. They created their own principles. And so as we go along with our retreats, with developing our different norms and things like that, we can have these discussions and be mindful of what we each hold valuable to create our culture. Next slide. So this is in developing our norms. Norms are the descriptions of how trustees treat each other and others. They are guides for what's acceptable and unacceptable and exist whether they are identified or not. Next slide. Meeting guidelines. And so that's another part of norms and protocols and principles, is how we conduct our meetings, what professionalism is to us, and how we're perceived in the community. Next slide. Our protocols. Protocols are operating rules that provide structure for the work of the board. They are very specific and applied to all aspects of trustee and board governance. And so we have to make sure that we're abiding by these, because without them, we're not having a very structured communication and a structured sense of purpose. Next slide. So these are some reasons of why it's important to adopt good protocols. The discussion leading to the agreement, resolving problems before they occur, orientation for new trustees, and benchmarks against which board self-evaluation can occur. And that's really important, that we also have to take a step back and look at ourselves and see what we're doing and how we're doing it. Next slide. So these are the concluding comments. The process of developing procedures does not have to be complicated. The power is in the conversation. Check and see what other good boards are doing, review, formulate, and consider our own list and possibilities. Discuss it and adopt a set for our own board. Monitor and revise it at least annually. Make the agreements a living part of our culture. Framework that governing boards can operate from. Governance, principles, norms, and protocols. Governance principles provide the basic philosophical frame within which the board agrees to operate. Effective boards agree on commitments that define the characteristics of their governance. Norms address how they will cover in with the standards what the standards are that will guide the collective work of the board. Protocols provide the guardrails within which the board will function without a process. Procedures and protocols, it is impossible for the board to function in a cohesive, consistent, and professional manner without it. It is essential for districts that face the deepest challenges to develop strong governance. Course, effective districts have coherent, strong, respectful relationships between trustees and their superintendents. All right, now it's time for our discussion.
Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Next time, maybe you can make it large enough so we can all see it.
I know, sorry, there's too much information, but you can go back.
I
and
wear
check it out.
I wear bifocal contact lenses.
I was having the same problem, don't worry.
Yeah, you can see it later.
I just want to say you did an excellent job on those slides, and I think they were uploaded today, and I said, wow, we're really going to have 26 pages. We're going to be here till midnight, but you
No.
went through, you did a great job of summarizing it. Excellent job.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Okay,
done.
let's get into the meat of it.
Okay, well, I'll say something.
Okay.
And then thank you for leading us through that. I'll kick off with a couple of comments, and I'm sure I might have more. I wanted to mention that constituency is different for all of us, like you mentioned. But it's true that we're all part of one district. We represent the entire population within our district. And I don't know if it was a CSBA MIGS class I went to, which is Masters in Governance, or if it was actually one of the conferences that I went to, because I attended the conferences, 5 conferences so far for the last 5 years, or it was one of the classes. But during one of those sessions, we discussed the fact that our true constituents as a board member it's who we are benefiting. Our true constituents are those that can't vote. It's the students. So I think if the board in its entirety is centered around, is student focused, I think we or any other board would be professional, would be a high functioning board. And I remember so clearly that speaker, she did an excellent job, that our true constituents are those that can't even vote for us, but we're looking out for the best intentions of the students, their well-being. And the other thing I wanted to mention was in the other district that I served as a board member, we had a board handbook. It wasn't a book quite as big as this. It was 2 or 3 pages, and all of us signed the board handbook on the last page. And it was 2 or 3 pages, and it was governing norms that we all agreed to. I don't know if this district does that, or if you did that in your prior district.
Did they all agree to it?
Not everybody signed it. That's a good question.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
Thanks for throwing that out there. Wow.
I remember.
Thank you.
No, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
no, I
important
think it's
because
important to mention
that
because
is- you're right.
sometimes, because I agree with your first statement
Yes.
about students 100%.
Yes.
It's all about students.
Yes.
And if we think that that's our focus, then we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Right.
And I loved how
moral
I loved how you articulated that, because it really is about the students.
Yes.
And if we know that that's our focus and that's where our center is, that's where we need to go. And that unifies us as a team.
Right.
But sometimes
But-
sometimes
Yeah.
I guess my criticism is
Yeah.
you can have a handbook, but
Yes.
if everybody doesn't buy into
Right.
it, it's just a piece of
We
paper.
did
And
have
that's
4
where
out of the
the
5 board members
distractions-
Yeah.
sign it. So of course, those ones were on the
Well,
same page.
I hear you, but
Yeah. You have to have all 5, right?
yeah, it's got
So in your
collective.
prior district that you were a board member for many years as well, did you have a board handbook or, okay, no.
We didn't. We were And that's where I came
Right,
from is we were,
right.
it was much more about the norms.
Yes, the norms.
You know, because I think norms are even more powerful than the handbook.
The handbook was the norms, I would say, but.
And if they bought into it.
Yes.
Because
that's right.
norms are really the cultural kind of agreement that you make, that
Agreed.
social contract.
Agreed.
And if it's a social contract, then we're all like, yeah, we're in.
Without
You know,
signing, we don't.
Without
nothing to
signing,
sign.
we don't
Yes,
need to sign, 'cause
yes.
we're in.
But that's where those distractions come in.
Yeah.
And that all trickles down to the students
Yeah.
and their families
Right.
and our teachers.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, that the whole point is the moral imperative is about students, which is why we should
Yep.
be here.
Mhm.
You know, on the distraction section, it was kind of interesting. And I looked at micromanagement and stuff, and you know, and I thought about people, and they cited people that have specialized skills, and there's a lot for me to learn in here. Obviously, the
Principal.
you know, the accountants and lawyers and
Right.
and stuff, and I don't know that I've ever, honestly, I've never gone in, I've never looked at journal entries. I wouldn't know the password. I don't have a password to log on. I'm glad that I'll drill down from the dais and not get in there. But you know who I have seen, and I guess it's probably a temptation more so, it's educators on the board that are really tempted, you know, because that's their, you know, they have the training and the qualifications that really just lends itself to, well, get out of the way and I'll show you how it's done, you know. And that's not the current board necessarily. It's over the years, because there's always been at least, you know, there's always been, seems like a teacher and sometimes multiple teachers on the board with me. So
No, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, when you're an expert, you have insight to things, which can give an advantage to something. But when you go past a line, I think it's a line. You know, I think once you start crossing that line, then you've gone into micromanagement. Now I'm telling you what to do. But if I'm asking you questions like, hey, wait a minute, you know, I always feel I get to be a little bit more critical about the education part and like to ask questions about it. But it's not like I think you're doing it wrong. It's like, why are you doing it that way? And I think it's more, and again, that's coaching. You know, that's looking at what you do as a teacher or as a principal, where you're just coaching someone, you know, you're saying, hey, how'd that go? You know, or why are we doing it that way? And I think that's the right approach. But the wrong approach is, I don't like that. You need to do it my way. My way is this. And I know what this is. And I think that's where you're crossing a line. And lawyers, it's true. Lawyers will say, you can't do this, you can't do that. Accountants or finance people, hey, we're not saving enough money. We're, you know, Yancey, you got to do it this way, not that way. HR people, you know, do that to poor Kirk, you know. And I think that's crossing a line. But I do believe in accountability. There is an idea where you're not micromanaging, but hey, we're going in this direction, and I don't think we need to go in that direction.
Right.
You know, I can say something there where it's like, hey, I feel like we're heading in this direction. I don't like that direction. As a board member, I'm gonna have an opinion. And I'm gonna try to persuade the rest of you guys that I don't think it's the right way. I may get it right, I may not. And if I get you guys, then everybody's got to refocus because we're moving the rudder, you know, and I think that's okay. But if I'm an individual saying to Superintendent Booker or to Yancey or to Kirk, hey, I read that and you should change that right away and blah, 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 then I'm going across the line.
you know, I got a comment.
Put your mic on.
I had a comment on, and I quickly shut my mic off the last time. I got a comment on compromise. And over the years, I've had to understand and try to gauge when and what I'm compromising on. And I think that's really important in terms of you're not always going to win your position, whatever it is. And if everybody stands exactly where they are, you're not going to benefit the district and the students. And I've always kind of looked at compromise in terms, does it improve the situation? Do we get closer to our overall goal? And then, then I'm certainly, I'm fine. I can live with the compromise.
I truly believe the same thing. I think our board iteration the last 5 years has always been, I knew where I was. I always had an approach where, hey, I'm here, but I would listen. And sometimes Peter or Linda or you, or even Mark, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'm shifting, and I change my mind. And I think that's why I think the Brown Act exists, because it's supposed to be a deliberative board to kind of come up with a answer. Because if we come here and sit here on this dais and already know what we're doing 100%, that's not going to be good.
Right.
There's no discussion. And so I really enjoy this kind of deliberation. And so I enjoy a conflict. I enjoy okay, you think this, I think that. Where's the middle ground? Maybe I can understand that point of view a little bit better. So I'm really grateful that you said that, because I really believe what you believe.
I think the discussion is important because you get to hear other people's opinions and why they think that. Just like you said right now about the board handbook. I said, did you have that before? You said, well, we didn't need it because we all followed the norms. And if you don't have all the board members signing anyway, so what is its validity? So hearing that discussion, we don't need a board handbook. That was my question is, did you have one before? Do we have one now? Do we need one? But so hearing thought processes, or maybe it's much deeper than thought processes, but opinions and everything's coming here with an open mind and listening to my colleagues. I think that's what we're all about as well. Yeah.
I got a funny story. I
Go
know
for
we
it.
don't have time for funny
There was a
stories.
superintendent. No, I'm just
We're ahead of schedule.
No, it
so go
doesn't involve,
for
it doesn't involve counting. One of the first things, being able to count to 3, one of the first things I got when I became a trustee was a file cabinet. And I have a 2-drawer file cabinet that was full of district binders and policy, all the district handbooks and everything. And I think I managed to cull, because the stuff is clearly close to 30, some of it's 30 years old or something. But it's set up in my office. And by the way, the district is welcome to come get the file cabinet back now anytime they want.
I only got a box. I got a box for Burlingame. I got this big box of stuff, and I'm like, hello, you're now a trustee. The former person gave it to me, and I was like, wow, thanks.
Well, there's the one thing too that respect, right? Respecting our staff. Like we've hired people to do certain things. And like you were saying, Trustee Land, that sometimes if we don't think that something's going a certain way, yeah, of course, assert your idea, but respecting, having those boundaries, because they're there to perform a job. And if we don't like it, then, we go to the superintendent, or if it's something the superintendent is doing, that's what evaluations are for, things like that. So again, not letting people run amok, but it's also a matter of respect.
I think the only thing I'm going to say about micromanagement is I think accountability is important. I mean, and I feel like as a board collectively, if we feel one way, I think it's important that we get that across. I don't think our personal opinions matter as much. And so we can have private conversations with the superintendent, and I can have meetings, but that's only going to get you so far. That's this much. Really, when it's the board feeling like, hey, we need to go this way versus this way, then it's a big deal, and that's more accountability. When it's just a one-on-one, that's an opinion to a person, and say they may take it, they may not. It's advice.
Yeah.
But when it's this big group and we're saying, hey, this is the direction, that's accountability. And I think that's the difference.
But the staff also has to trust us that we have their best interest at heart.
Yep.
I think that sometimes there's a breakdown in some places because people don't feel trusted. And so that it's not for a good relationship.
I was thinking about some of our meetings, and when it gets crunchy, that's a new one for me. But when there's controversy, when there's stuff, that's when you have to be at your best. That's when the norms really take effect. I think as a board, we've been very respectful, but when we have an audience that's harder to control, it does get kind of crunchy and difficult. And how do you deal with that? And, again, as a chair, you're going to how do you control it, but allow, how do you have the freedom of speech, but how do you control, inexcusable rudeness?
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to deal with, from my perspective. And, and it really talks about this kind of stuff when you're talking about coherence and uniform, not uniformity, but unified. It sounds like, because I feel like we are a very respectful board in that sense. We talk and we listen, but then when the outside comes in, it's interesting. Well, and I think we have to hold our ground. I think this book tries to tell you that hold your ground. You maybe have a strong opinion, you're totally on one side of the fence of somebody else, but that shouldn't change how you feel about everybody up here. And even there, it's trying to, how do you control that to be so that they could be respectful? How do you impose that respect to the audience as well without, I don't know, that's my constant struggle as a chair.
I think that we do a really good job of being respectful to each other and with the community. I feel like I walked into a good culture. I know Superintendent Booker has said that before, and I appreciate that. All of you have been on a board or been on this board, so I'm the newest person to being in this scenario. So as I read this book, a lot of the time I'm like, okay, but what does that look like? And so I think that as time goes on, I will have more experience to know what that looks like. But right now, it's very theoretical for me personally.
Maybe. Well, they all have there's so many different cultures.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's varying degrees. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen iterations of boards, right? Before this is a new iteration. And anytime you have a new situation, norms change. You have to renorm. I mean, I actually took a lot of teaching classes on norms. And so part of my foundational classes, there was a whole class on norming and how every time a new group comes together, it's a shifting and a vying for power and a vying for who does what and what the roles do we all play. But that's where once you figure it out, trust starts building, and then the norms feel like, okay, this is how we operate, and I think honestly, this book and this discussion is really powerful to me because it's developing our norms as we go, just how we are interacting as a team. So kudos for the idea about bringing the book and having this kind of talk.
Thanks.
Good idea.
I think one passage I want to read that really struck me, it's on page 100. And it reads, in the context of constituencies, this talks about how board members relate to their constituencies. When a trustee is asked, quote, who do you represent, unquote, the response from the trustee should be, wrong question. The right question is, what do you represent? What is your internal moral compass, and how does that guide you in your trustee role? If the district's moral imperative is reflected in the district's purpose and work, and if you are part of that purpose and are committed to system-wide coherence, that should be answer enough. Trustees with a governance mindset understands that deep learning prepares them to lead rather than respond to pressures from external yet sometimes friendly groups. Being able to justify positions taken with solid, well-reasoned explanations equips the trustee to teach and educate, not just defend. And I think that is a really important segment for me.
I'm just going to tie it back to what we were saying earlier, what Terry said. When Terry said it's about the students, that's my moral imperative. And all means all students. And so when you go back to the PLCs, and that's again a teaching thing, but when we talk about professional learning communities, the first thing you talk about is all means all, not just some of them, not just some students in your class, all your students. And so if we mean all, and that's our imperative, that's pretty darn solid background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I like that quote. All right.
Thank you.
Can we
Great
thank you,
conversation.
Leah? You did a great job.
Do we have a volunteer for the next board meeting, the next chapters?
Bob says he wanted to. He told me in private that he wanted to do the next one.
No, Bob, and he wouldn't have done it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I
Yeah,
can't do the next chapter either.
Bob, I'm
I'm
defending Bob.
still doing tax returns.
Yeah, seriously,
I
he
will be
can't.
doing tax returns till October. So
I'm happy to
It's
do it.
7
I just wanted to offer.
It's 7 and 8, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I can't do it
Greg will
yet.
do it with you. if you
No,
want.
I can't do it
Can't
yet.
do that
I'm
right now.
so overwhelmed right now. Sorry.
Yeah, I have long
Both
work
of
days
you
right
guys
now.
are party poopers.
I'm in
No,
these 9-hour
I'll just hold off.
workshops.
Wait till summer and I'm in. Fall, I can do it, but
Superintendent Booker volunteered.
I'm happy to do it. I just was off.
you know what? All you.
All right, I'm on
Oh,
it.
the truth be known, Shar probably does it, and then.
Yeah. I think Char's doing it.
Check with a few people.
I've been
Superintendent Booker
discovered.
did it himself.
You know what? This is going to come from left field, but I think Yancey should do it.
Yancey and Kirk together. Yancey and Kirk together.
Yancey's got to close the books and get it right.
Yeah. He's got
You
he's busy too.
budget or.
You think the
or
budget's
this.
important?
I
Okay.
actually have a great idea. Let's have Chat GPT do it.
Oh my God.
Even better. Absolutely, even better.
You know, that'd be really interesting to see what they come up with.
I won't deny
Using
that using Chat GPT is helping me with my graduation speech.
Wow.
Mm.
I think I need to do that. I might do that over the weekend. I got one that you got to do.
All right, I'll take it on, but if any
All right.
trustee member has any input or. any-
No. I'm
Trustee-
talking about the graduation speech,
Oh.
not about the book.
Oh, but back to the book. If anyone has input or would like me to, hit upon certain sections of those chapters specifically, just let me know, but I'm happy to put it together.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're still ahead, almost 9 o'clock. Let's do it. We now finished special reports. We're going into construction, but that item has been pulled. So we're not going to do that. We are now into the human resources consent agenda. Any highlights on the consent agenda?
No, just 5 items for approval.
Okay.
I move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve, second. So motion to approve the consent agenda for personnel, and it was made by trustee Jacobson, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Now on to the Division of Human Resources. Dr. Black.
Thank you. Personnel actions. We have 2 recognitions. Mark Kearns, a social studies teacher at Cappuccino, has resigned effective May 26th. He's been with the district for 11 years. And Steve Labram, an educational specialist at Aragon, has resigned effective May 26th, and he's been with the district for 10 years.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Move adoption.
So there's a motion for adoption.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Griffin, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. I'm going to call you Dr. Griffin from now on. All right. Moving on to Division of Student Services, Instructional Services, Dr. Kemke.
President
Nope.
Land, it's the personnel items, standalone items.
Oh, we have to do all of those individually. Oh, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did the addendum. Now we have to do the
Condom
condom access program.
Yes,
You're
this
on.
item is recommended to initiate next year. It's called the Condom Access Program, or CAP. This program would provide condoms to students who request them. Youth-friendly information will be included along with the condom. The information and resources in the CAP program will also contain language that stresses the fact that abstinence is the only 100% effective method of preventing unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. At the sites, the distribution sites for these condoms would mostly be the health offices at each school, but also the health classrooms have them now as part of their curriculum, and that may be another appropriate location. Neighboring districts have CAP or CAP-like programs, and there is also pending state legislation that would require CAPs at high schools. The anticipated cost for the CAP proposal for 23-24 is $1,500. And our manager of health services, Sarah Devaney, is leading this initiative if it's approved, and she is, I think, available on Zoom. No, she's not available on Zoom. Okay. So if there's any questions, otherwise we recommend approval.
If there are no questions, I move to approve the CAP program.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it. I do have
Okay.
a question.
All right.
Are
Motion
we-
in a second, but
Are
go
we
for it.
going to put some notices in the mail of general nature to parents?
Good question.
Information to parents?
Yeah, I think we can do that in a couple of places. We can talk about the annual notice or annual notification. I think that would be really buried in that notification though. So I think a separate notification that Sarah Devaney could put out or develop with Ms. Chalkley that we can send out to all families and do it multilingual as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking with, I think the parents have a right to know, and then
Agreed.
certainly, I think we do need to provide education along with the materials.
Yeah,
So,
they are. Mhm.
I think that's a good idea too.
My apologies. Sarah Devaney is online if you have any
Yay.
other questions for her.
But I think the communication point is important. So
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. I'm going to call the question. So a motion was made by trustee Andrade Zuniga, seconded by trustee Griffin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried 5-0. Okay, next we're moving to the approval of CTC grant disbursement process and living stipend.
This grant was mentioned earlier in the presentation. This is affords the classified staff to receive a stipend twice a year of $2,200 if they pursue or as they're pursuing their teacher program.
Credential.
Yeah, their teaching credential.
Perfect. Anyone? I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll move
second.
adoption.
Okay. I made the motion, seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any approved? Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried 5-0. Emergency supply coordinator.
Yes, the district emergency supplies are needed. They're in need of replenishment and upgrade. This item would recommend the emergency supply coordinator position, stipends of $7,000.
Wow.
And the work would be accomplished over the summer and in the month of January. They would refresh all of our emergency red duffel bags that are in every classroom in most offices. And they'll stock also each site with general supplies for bigger emergencies in all 13 locations.
I think that's awesome.
Yes. I'll move for adoption.
Okay, motion made by trustee Chavez,
Second.
seconded by trustee Jacobson. All I'm going to say is my PTA has to do that every year. So it's nice that you're having somebody else do that. All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you. Mental health therapist.
Yeah, so this is, we heard the grant today about the social workers. And that was a grant that the district received almost $2 million. And it provides for 3 social workers and a program assistant. And one of our social workers separated from the district. So we have some savings from that. We're doing recruitment for another social worker for the new year, but we still wanted to use that funding to use it for a 0.6 mental health therapist. And this is this request is to apportion that part of the grant for mental health therapist.
Sounds good. Any motions?
Move adoption.
Okay, motion made by trustee Griffin,
I'll second.
motion seconded by trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Approval of the certificated WASC coordinator job descriptions.
Yeah, so WASC comes every 6 years for our comprehensive high schools. It's an accreditation process. There's also sometimes a midterm visit, but the main work is the self-study process in preparation for the visit by the accreditation team. In our district, we do a lot of work to include all of our students, staff members, community members, as much as we can. And in order to do that, we need coordinators. So we're seeking approval of these different roles at all of our comprehensive school sites, WASC coordinator and WASC focus group leaders.
Okay, any questions? Any motion?
I move to approve.
Thank you. Motion made by trustee Jacobson, seconds.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Andrade Zuniga. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, moving to the last thing on yours is approval of revised teacher on special assignment roles.
Yes, each year the district has several teachers on special assignment or TOSAs. As the district's goals and focus changes from year to year, so do the expectations of our TOSAs. So for next year, the district has revised the English language arts, mathematics, social science, and CTE TOSA job descriptions. The cost for these positions will be $100,000 for next year and paid out of the instructional materials block grant. If there's questions on the jobs, otherwise, we recommend approval of these job description revisions.
Okay, any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Okay,
move to approve.
motion made by trustee Andrade Zuniga. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Griffin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Now we are on, sorry about that. Thank you, Shar. Now we're going to get to the Division of Student Services, Instructional Services, Dr. Kemke.
So we're proposing to hold a public hearing for the book, the textbook that we're proposing for US history. So in accordance with Board Policy 6161.1, we're recommending the adoption of this book. And before we adopt it and have the board go forward, open a public hearing.
You got it. Okay, so then I'm closing our board meeting. I'm opening a public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at the public hearing? Is there anyone on?
There is no one.
Okay, anyone in the audience want to speak about this public hearing? Okay. TikTok, hearing none. I'm going to close the public hearing. I'm opening back up our school board meeting. And now we are going to do what?
So now this will come before you on June 8th for board approval.
Okay.
So the book has been advertised widely for public review, and
Right.
I don't believe we've gotten any comments, via email or anything else either.
Okay, good to know.
Question.
Question.
Will the book be here? Because it's nice to see the book and pass it around and kind of bend the spine and that.
Oh,
kind of-
sure. Yeah, there's links for it electronically, but we can bring an actual physical book to the June
Yeah,
8th.
some of
meeting.
us are old school that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on it this week. I found it to be really engaging.
Yep.
So it's
Highly recommended by our
Thank you
teachers.
for offering it out to the public.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excellent. Okay, the next one is the approval of the pre-IB Math 2 course of study action item.
So if you remember from the presentation earlier this year, there's a revised math pathway at Cappuccino High School to align with their international baccalaureate program. So this course is now moving out of the pilot phase, and we're asking for approval for the course outline for the pre-IB Math 2. So this is the second of the two courses. So we've already had the pre-IB Math 1. So we're recommending for approval pre-IB Math 2 course of study.
Excellent. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay, motion made by trustee Andrade Zuniga. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Thank you. Now we're going to business services. So Yancey, you are up.
Thank you so much. The first item in business services is the approval of our annual TRAN, that is our tax and revenue anticipation notes. As a community funded district, our primary tax payments come in December and April, which means we don't get significant cash flow between July 1st and December 10th. We usually go negative in terms of cash at the end of October and definitely at the end of November. That's why annually, pretty much all community funded districts have either a TAN, a tax anticipation note, or a TRAN. So we're moving forward with that. Annually, tonight you're approving the resolution to move forward. Our next steps on this, major steps are on the 14th. We meet with our rating agency around that, and then in July we would move forward. One exciting thing to note, and we'll try to do it again this year, is amongst all the districts that we've seen, we had the lowest rate of any school district or consortium of school districts for their TRAN rate for the 2022-2023 rate in the state. So we'll endeavor to do that again this year.
Is anybody online to help out with this, or?
Tony is online.
Yeah, if we could pop up Tony, it'd be great.
Sure.
So
He's been
Tony
staying
Shea
up
from-
really late, so it's either really early in the morning there or
I think it's right around noon.
noon.
where
Then
he is.
we're just gonna make him miss lunch. Let's
There
do it.
you go. Well, yes, Tony Shea from Kegent, as I think all the board members know Tony. He's been working with the district for a long time, keeping us
disappeared.
financially well.
There it is. I was a little worried.
I exist.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, so I guess it's just a matter of, is this the right time? Or this is what we have to do? Obviously you explained why we need to do it because is there any ramifications of doing it now versus later, or that's my only question.
Yeah, this is the time to move forward. We have several steps to implement that, to get it in place by the fall. So doing it now ensures that all money will be in place to support us in the next year. So this is the common time to go out for that and then finalize over the summer.
Okay. Any questions? Bob?
I'll move adoption.
All right. Bob moves for an adoption. Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Trustee Chavez, there's a second. Tony, thanks for being here. I know you talked a lot, so thanks for your input.
Thank you.
Hopefully you're not like a lawyer and charging us for the time that you were here.
Nope.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Yancy. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried 5-0. Thank you so much for Keegan for joining us. And Yancy, thanks for that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
All right. Good night. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is adoption of a resolution 22-23-27.
This is just a standard resolution to update our banking records and to add Superintendent Booker to the signing sheet. So
I'm not going to approve that. Wait, no, I'm just kidding. They haven't needed him.
This is just to make major changes to the account.
Right.
This isn't for day-to-day activity.
Okay. It's signing the big stuff.
The big stuff.
All right.
I'll move to approve.
All right. Motion to approve by Trustee Andrade Zuniga. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Trustee Griffin. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried. Thank you. Adoption of resolution 22-23-26. Clearing account. What's that?
This is a request by the County Office of Education as the county office moves through because of a bank purchase. They're members of Union Bank.
So shift.
It's just a shift. It doesn't have actually anything to do, just to be very clear, it doesn't have to do anything due to Silicon Valley Bank or any of those. This
It's
is
a merger,
just-
right? Isn't Union?
Yeah, it's just the Union Bank
U.S.
merger.
Bank. is
Correct.
acquiring.
And so they are asking for all the districts resolutions. We went back and, it was just so long ago that we did this. So we're just updating our records
Got it.
right now to have an updated copy for the county. It's not we're not changing any of our processes.
Okay.
This is just at the request of the County Office of Education. And as a fiscally dependent district, we when they say jump, we say how high. So
Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Okay. Motion made by Trustee Griffin.
I'll
Is there a
second that.
second? Second by Trustee Chavez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried 5-0. Governor's May revise update. This is action or is this info?
this is just information only.
Okay.
Thank you, President Land. Every January, the governor puts out their initial budget for the next fiscal year. And then in May, with a financial update around taxes, they will provide a May revision. In the industry, we call it the May revise. And so in January, we brought an item and we discussed to the governor's proposed budget. The overall was that not a lot of impact to community funded districts. The big item in the January was that there was about a $20 billion deficit at the state level. And the other item was the governor was proposing to cut one of the two major categorical programs that was approved this year, which was the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant, which the board approved a plan for in the fall by about a third. So we received about $5.4 million in that grant, 5.4, 5.5. And so the potential cut at that point was $1.7 million, which was included in the second interim report that the board approved. Fast forward to the May revision, very similar budget to the January budget, except that budget deficit has moved from around $20 billion to about $30 billion. Overall, Prop 98, and more importantly, for state funded districts, He is not proposing cuts to the LCFF and is actually proposing a COLA on many of the programs. But two big things that impact community funded districts that I wanted to point out, and we're watching them very, very closely. The first is the 1/3 cut that the governor proposed to the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant. The governor is now proposing a 51% reduction in that grant. The second is the other of the two main categorical programs that were approved in this year, the Learning Recovery Block Grant, which we also received about $5.5 million. The governor is now proposing a 32% cut in that. So we're going to monitor these things. They already have had legislation. The LAO has come out against both of those reductions. They came up with some other options on that. And those two reductions were very specifically made in order for the governor to fund a full COLA for state funded districts. So more to come. I expect a overall budget by June 15th. So at our meeting on June 22nd, I'll be able to update the board on where we finally went here. But I don't expect any new large categorical funds. It looks like we will receive a COLA on all of our ongoing categorical funds, which is a good thing, but not besides the potential cut of the funds that were already given to us, which is not a very nice way to cut a school district and students. Besides that, not a lot of significant impact from the May revision. With that, I'm happy to open it up to questions.
Any questions? The only question I have is based on if the governor gets what he wants, which is the cuts that you mentioned in those categoricals, what's the fiscal impact to us?
A little over $4 million.
4 million with those, just in those categoricals
within those two cuts. One thing to note though, in that $4 million, we put aside $2 million in the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant as potential money for COVID needs. Back in the fall, we were still worried we could hit another spike, or we need to bring in additional staff. Knock on wood, we haven't had to do that, and so that is a very likely area we could pull back on. So that would be
less impact on us.
Less impact. That could potentially be up to 2 million of the 4 million impact.
I think that's wise.
Yeah.
Quickly, since this boat is fast coming into the dock, you didn't mention, it looked like the governor increased universal school meals. Is that going to have an impact on the district?
It has a impact on the district in the sense of he's actually funding the commitment that he made. So there's a change in the amount that the governor's allocating towards that, but it doesn't change the requirement and the guarantee that we made. So it's a very good thing. What it means is the universal program is successful, and the governor put aside a certain amount of money, and he's realizing that actually I'm going to need to put aside additional money annually to cover those costs. It is important to note that the governor did do that because given our demographics, well over half of our meals are paid for by the state, whereas a lot of other districts, most of the meals are paid for by the federal government. Given that we have more exposure to the state, if the state did not fully fund their commitment, that would come out of our bottom line. So it's a very important thing that the governor did that. But I think most districts were confident that the commitment was made at the beginning of the year when the governor and the legislature voted to require school districts to provide 2 meals a day for all students, and that they would ultimately pay for that. Now, the state has not always made up their commitments, but we were excited to see that. But it's just confirming the funding level that we expected. And our student nutrition department is doing an incredible job, and they're gonna beat their record of last year this year, and I'm just incredibly proud of them. So And this is a lot of it's had to do with the state's commitment to doing that, really allowing us to succeed.
Everybody will be happy to know I took some of the time from the governance core to read the CSBA budget.
Update. Uh-huh.
Hmm,
Actually,
thank
that was a
you.
good question now because I heard that, especially for community funded districts, that
Yep.
it's going to
Mhm.
help us at least maintain our reimbursements, which is good. Sure.
I forgot to mention during my report out earlier that superintendent, which Superintendent Booker and myself last week, I don't know if it was last week, but we visited Aragon High and Peninsula High. And at Peninsula High, there was a group that was making barbecue hamburgers, right? In the kitchen. All the students were cooking or putting things together. I don't want to
For lunch.
And I thought, wow, can we be part of that party right there
Okay.
at Peninsula High School? And
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. All right. This is an information only.
Information
So
only.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Much appreciated. We're going to move to board operations. This is kind of a discussion point about, I don't know who wants to open this. Good.
I will just.
I was hoping you would do
Yeah,
it.
just briefly. One is I appreciate Trustee Chavez. She pointed out that the attachment on this item is incorrect. There wasn't actually even supposed to be an attachment on this agenda item, but it's the May revised attachment. So for those following at home, ignore that. But okay, back to this topic. So from what I understand, in previous years, we had what this district calls 2x2 meetings, which are meetings with typically 2 board members and then 2 members from each of our supporting districts, city councils, their superintendent, maybe their mayor, that kind of thing. And we would meet monthly, quarterly. It's just a lot of groups, right?
Yep.
So I wanted to bring this to the board to help me organize what you wanted so that I can start connecting with those cities for next year and and plan those and get those on the calendar because we didn't get them done this year.
Yeah, and we have those assignments and that's what pretty much they're for, but
Right.
we were also talking about having maybe even something like on a downtime, like before school starts to have like a meet and greet or some sort of like kickoff to that and then follow up with the 2x2s. So maybe hosting our sister districts, our city councils, whoever can make it, just to get to know everybody.
So I really like that idea personally. I would Trustee Andrade Zuniga and I talked about this idea of doing at the beginning of the year a meet and greet where we invite all of our partner districts, like a 2-on-2, but everyone in maybe here, and we do a little bit of a state of the district, a welcome, get to know one another. I'm new. We've got new trustees. And just kick us off in that kind of way to build relationships.
I think that's a great idea. I think what I would suggest doing a partner district gathering first, and then a city gathering second. So kind of have 2 events. I would propose for socializing. I would prefer to do it offsite versus onsite, because onsite, it's not as social. It's a little bit too formal. It's like a meeting and you don't want to do that. But if we do it in some sort of informal way where we have a few people talk, like, Superintendent Booker says something, maybe a couple of the partner districts people say something, and that sounds like, and then we just kind of socialize and have appetizers.
Yep.
And then we mingle. I'd love to do that.
I think that's a
So
good
I
idea.
got a question. How effective do you think that is? I mean, you must believe that it's going to be real effective.
No,
We build really.
I honestly, so here's what I was going to say. So before he said that, I was thinking of our 2x2s.
Yeah.
And most of our 2x2s historically have been very focused on something that we know is going to happen. And so San Bruno was all about Crestmore. And when it was Burlingame, it was about the pool or the aquatic center. When it was San Mateo, I forgot what it was, but there was something. I can't remember what it was. Foster City, it was the high school.
No, it's never not in recent.
No, but I'm trying to draw through the history.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's sort of like it's better to start with no agenda and just try and then have those meetings and then help. And I think for me partner districts are something that where articulation needs to happen more. And it's something that Julie and I were talking about one time in a meeting just the other couple weeks ago, where it's like unified districts do a lot more articulation. I mean, I know Randall has mentioned it before. I know Julie has talked about it before. And because we're a union and an elementary school district, partner districts, there's a lot of disconnect that could happen better. And so this could be the start of at least trying to bridge some gaps.
And I had a conversation with Mayor Medina the other day about just different things. And, you know, I was like, don't forget about us when you make decisions that affect our families. Because like right now we're having an issue with enrollment, we're having an issue with housing. And if they don't even have school districts on their radar, they're less likely to make decisions that will impact families with children. And so I just strongly believe in having those relationships so people can keep each other in mind.
I think that the mixer idea is an excellent idea. I know that we have a mixer once a year in at the CSBA conference, which I truly think that that's a great event. But we can't wait to do that annually. But having it here where folks that are not going to go may or may not go to that trustee conference, I do think that's a great idea. I know I'm familiar with a lot of folks in San Bruno, but we have, how many feeder schools do we have? We need to have strong connections to every single feeder school that we have. So I think it's a great idea.
I don't know that I haven't, you know, and I'm not nearly as social as the rest of the board. Because
There's still hope for you.
no, it's well, you know, it sounded like it was a big party to me. And if articulation with feeder districts is real critical to our success, as is our relationships with the communities. Getting everybody together in I don't know, it sounded like it was getting together in a bar somewhere.
No.
I was thinking more restaurant.
Right.
That was just me.
No, I'm with you, Bob.
I mean, you know, I mean, and you know, it's good to know people. We sort of need to have framework or structure or something around it, because I could see you go there, and particularly with this side of the room, you guys know everybody in town.
But that's what he was saying. What President Ram was saying was there will be somewhat of an agenda. Somebody will say something, another person will say something. It'll be a structure, but there'll be a more like a light-hearted. It's not going to be like a board meeting type of.
I hear you, and I hear you. I hear both of you. I think, and I agree with you. I think, but here's where I'm going to push on both of you. I think having an initial meeting is good. I don't have as high expectations as you're thinking I have. I think it's good to connect and start. But I think the follow-up is we're going to have 2x2s to have conversations about important issues. And so if we do the initial informal talk, and then we have a formal talk, it actually might go better than having nothing for a long time and then getting together to talk about soccer fields and getting yelled back and forth and having a very tough discussion and not knowing someone. And I'm using a particular example because it was tough. And if we had talked a little bit more beforehand in an informal way, we might have gotten better.
If we had talked more frequently and kept in touch, that's the point.
Exactly.
So
it's a start is what I'm thinking.
I have a suggestion to maybe meet some middle ground here, you know, in the spirit of compromise, as we were talking about earlier in our book study. You know, what if we did a meet and greet in August to kick us off, but maybe do a breakfast, you know, here, a coffee breakfast here
before school starts, please. Breakfast.
Where we can get to know people. I can do it in table settings. We can split people up. I can have an agenda, get them talking, get people talking to one another. So it's a little bit of a getting to know you before we jump into those 2x2s, especially for me. I don't know hardly any of them. So getting people together might be helpful. And then they get to learn about our district. These also might be new trustees or new city council members.
And a lot of them are.
Yes.
There's a lot of new.
So really, for me, the impetus is for them to get to know us and what we're about and what our mission and vision is and what are some of the goals we have for the district. It's for them to come here and get to know us. So when we sit in 2x2 meetings, they understand what we're driving at, you know, what our priorities are. So that's not a mystery to them as we sit in those kinds of meetings. I don't know if that meets some needs, but
Well, that's a lot more specific than the
I think Bob
left
was,
side of the room here with the.
Ooh, now we're talking right and left. Oh my God.
say this
Jeez.
side over here, but where do you put me on this side or that side?
Oh, you're way over
You're on
there. You are way over there.
Thanks for together, Bob in San Diego.
Well,
We bought the
yeah,
pictures.
that's exactly what I'm.
You're
recollection.
Terry's gonna have her card tricks
Yeah,
and her
my card-
selfies.
I have a string trick too. You
Wait a
guys haven't
minute,
seen?
you're right. You're right. I think I'm starting to go this side of the room.
Hey, I have a string trick you haven't seen. Okay.
Well, you know, the thing that the superintendent said, and I think this is something that frames it because we want to talk about what our district goals are.
Yes.
And have something that's tangible
Yes.
and sort of a presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can get to know people.
And we want the community to know.
But we deliver some
Yeah.
goods there.
Yeah.
I think that's the real critical issue.
I think we're on the
That's
same
what
page
we're
now.
alluding
Yeah.
at.
And
Yeah.
Greg's gonna hand out swag, whatever swag
No,
he has.
we have no swag.
Strategic planning. in a
I
sense.
think sounds right.
That sounds right.
Okay. And since it's 9:30, there's a time check. So
We're way ahead of schedule if you look at.
We're
the-
I know,
done.
but you're, isn't it 9:30 or is it 10?
It's 10.
It's 10 o'clock, yeah.
Doing great.
So I
think
have
we're
one, I have a
done,
question
right?
before we move on
Okay.
from this.
Go for it.
Okay. I think we discussed during our January board meeting when we discussed committees. I think we decided that instead of having the committees from January to December, the cadence would be from
Uh-huh.
the school,
The
the school
year.
cycle. And so then we would start that this summer. So I think
Yeah.
starting in July or August, we would be on a
I'm
different.
gonna
Yeah.
bring them on June 23rd. So
okay,
before we
yeah.
leave, you have them chosen going into
So that,
August. and
that would,
November.
that would impact the 2x2s that you're on as well. So I
Right.
wanted to bring that up since that's the topic we're talking about.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Since I threw my agenda down. All right,
We're at the
future
end.
board agenda items. I was getting a little ambitious of like, we're done. So we're done with the board operations part. It's future agenda items. Is there anybody who wants to suggest some things for future meetings?
well,
That
let
makes
me
sense.
just say a couple things. So we just heard that we're going to be bringing committees on June
On
22nd.
23rd.
We're going to also bring student rep to the board when
June 8th.
June 8th. That's not on here. So we'll add those to the agenda.
So when are we going to be able to make our request
Request for
Or-
what? Say it again.
assignments?
The 22nd.
The 22nd.
So we should,
Request,
if we,
not an answer.
yeah.
There's a difference.
Ah,
You wanna, so,
Should you have a deadline?
so proper
Well, last time I
protocol.
send it to yourself, right, President Lamb?
Yep.
And you make your suggestions and then we send it out to everyone.
Yes,
and
so we have to
discuss it.
do June 8th is the
I can
first
do that. You
part.
have that for June 8th and then decisions on the
everybody
22nd.
The
can get- then we'll do
finalization,
the final.
22nd. Yeah.
Okay? That's what we'll do.
I just wanted to ask again about the information about the exit interviews, please.
Exit interviews. Okay.
And maybe, oh, thank you. And then maybe with the request that was done by the community about the LGBT letter, maybe if you can also send us a report on what, like in June, on what things we do as a district to support the LGBT community. Like in your weekly or something, that'd be fine.
In the week.
Yeah.
I think we're good. Y'all know. See it at
Work
5:30.
towards.
It starts at 5:30. No, it starts at 5:30.
Are we adjourned?
Yeah. We are about to
The
adjourn.
important collaboration starts very early, I bet. And
That's when the mixing starts. But the actual
right.
presentation of awards starts at 7.
Okay.
6:30 is when Anna Esch is gonna talk. Okay, so it's kind of like, and